Welcome into the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. We're going to start this thing off with one of the best plays we done seen today. An outside zone turned reverse, turned flea flicker, turned 32-yard touchdown.
They're cooking.
Yeah, baby. NC State hooping. A big win by them today, by the way.
Hooping?
Hooping in general can be used as a term
it's college
for
football
balling.
show.
No, don't do that.
Basketball
that is a semantic. That is a semantic. Jason Fitz is here with me, Treavor Scales, and he's just calling mess into stuff that he don't need to. This is the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G, and we are responsible. We are multi-pronged in our approach and our responsibilities. Our approach, we're coming to you on Twitter, YouTube Live, Facebook, and the ESPN app, and our responsibilities are getting you caught up on all the things that have happened, all the things that are currently going down, and all the things that will go down in week, what is this, 6 of college football?
Yeah, that's what the document says.
Sounds right. We're going to roll with it. In any case, we'll roll with talking football too. Like, let's just get it cracking because we had an incredible day of early games and the games continue to go on here. We'll begin with the Red River Showdown. I slowed down to make sure I got that right, and we pick it up in the fourth quarter. Sam Ehlinger finds his man in the corner to tie things up at 41, and we head into our first overtime. Ehlinger balling on the day. They go up 38-31 on first and goal. Now, Spencer Rattler's turn to respond, and that he does. Austin Stogner on the receiving end of 11-yard score. And then Rattler sneak out of the gut, 45-38 Sooners. Longhorns on offense now, and Ehlinger left side and down the sideline he goes. We will run this back because we had a spirited. Oh, we won't run that back. Never mind. Keep it moving because this is that type of pace of game in the Big 12. Spencer Rattler puts the Sooners up with that score, 53-45. You have to go for 2 after the second overtime, and that they did. And then the drive ends for Sam Ehlinger. That is how the Red River Showdown goes down. It was incredible. 53-45 win for the Sooners.
Next up, we got number 21, Texas A&M, taking on number 4, Florida. Under 10 minutes to play in the third. Gators up 21-17, driving. Kyle Trask chops back, finds Kadarius Toney down the sideline. 37-yard touchdown. Florida leads it 28-17. Let's go to the beginning of the fourth. Aggies trailing 28-24. 4th and 2 from the 19. Isaiah Spiller takes a handoff, hits the truck. Bam! 19-yard touchdown. A&M now leads 31-28. Under 4 to go. Florida possession in midfield. Malik Davis takes the carry but cannot hold on to the ball. You got to squeeze the football, my friend.
No.
That's what happens. He drops it. All of a sudden, another look here as the ball pops loose by Buddy Johnson. Absolutely incredible play. Aggies take over now at the 48-yard line. Texas A&M not done either. They would then take over with the ball, drive it all the way down to the 8-yard line. 2 seconds to play. They decided to do what I never do. Trust a college kicker. Seth Small says, Fitz, shut up. I got this. He gets it. Aggies and Jimbo Fisher fired up. They pull off the upset 41-38.
I think a water cooler got overturned. We will
talk about that.
We will revisit that. In any case, we move to the ACC. VT taking on UNC Chapel Hill. And UNC was rolling early. Sam Howell was in his bag. Diami Brown, 43-yard score. Tar Heels up 35-14 after that. Now 5 minutes remaining in the third. Hokies down 42-14. 42-24, excuse me. But on 3rd and 8, Khalil Herbert, a 52-yard gut job of a run game, puts them within 11. Then, under 9 minutes left now, North Carolina, 1st and 25. Third quarter, Hendon Hooker, dart to Tavion Robinson. Now the Hokies down 5 after a failed 2-point conversion. And then under 9 minutes left now. North Carolina possession on 1st and 25. Michael Carter right side. And that is the boost. Erasing angles to the crib. 56-45. Not a whole lot of defense being played. North Carolina has 2 running backs go over 100 yards. First time since 2015.
All right, now, remember, LSU fans, you can still say defending national champions until somebody else wins it. That's the only positive thing I got to say here. Missouri taking on LSU, and obviously there's a lot going on here with this game, with the replacement of where this game is going on because of the hurricane. So more important than anything that's happening in football, we should acknowledge that moving the game because of Hurricane Delta is obviously the most important thing, that we keep everybody safe. Now that we've said that, Missouri did not keep anybody feeling safe from LSU in the course of this game. Absolutely huge touchdown there. End of the third quarter. This game tied at 31. And you see the play there. LSU, it looked like they were going to be able to pull out and they were going to be able to take this one. But the problem here has been LSU's defense, as it has been throughout the course of the year. Keep in mind, LSU's allowed more than 96 points this season. That's their third most in program history. And this came down to the very end. You see it here, 3rd and goal. Great play here. All of a sudden, they line up for 4th and goal, get ready to try and take their opportunity. Brennan drops back. Brennan had a great game. Tries to go to Marshall. Incomplete, though. What a knockdown. The coverage by Joshua Bledsoe. Mizzou gets the upset and the 45-41 win. Huge moment for them.
Absolutely. So, dejection on the sideline for LSU. But right now, we shift our focus to the other SEC matchup of the day. Georgia taking on Tennessee. And after a rough start for Georgia, they trail by 4. Entering the half, they have since exploded both offensively and defensively. Pitched the shutout on defense, now leading 44-21. Had an interesting play, one of note. Stetson Bennett went down. Still waiting to see if he's back in the game for the Dogs. But for now, Georgia leading 44-21, just under 3 remaining in regulation. And with that, once again, the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz here with you.
Very professional, by the way. Like Georgia, Tennessee was tight at the half.
mask it well.
And when I say the game was tight, so was Treavor Scales. What was it?
Lemon
booty. Yeah,
yes.
He was a little puckered up. Let's just say halftime, Treavor Scales, a little puckered up. Much more jovial now.
Yes, I can relax and smile, and I told you, like, the score is going to look one way, but it is not indicative of the level of stress that those jokers put me through for the first 24 minutes of that ball game. Yeah, well, it wasn't fun. Was not fun.
The important thing is how the outcome is coming, right? Like,
yeah.
Let's just say that. I'm just
we
trying
can
to
play the results, but I'm still not going to be happy about it.
Yeah, that is fair.
Whatsoever.
It has been an up and down. Georgia has looked up and down in this game. And frankly, Stetson Bennett, who you mentioned, obviously injury is going to be, we'll see where that moves forward for him. But he wasn't particularly great through much of this game either. There were moments where you were pulling your perfectly coiffed hair out over Stetson Bennett.
What little I got left. But we'd like to welcome in another party. Before we get to Trevor's takeaways, we'd like to welcome in Ryan McGee into the College Football Show, presented by AT&T 5G. And my man's got the...
I mean, I know, for anybody that doesn't know, Ryan McGee, I mean, you've got some vol in your history, right? We all know that. Like, and not only do you, but you married a girl from Knoxville, too. Like, you are full in, like, when you get a paper cut, it comes out that obnoxious color of orange, right?
Yeah, listen, and this has happened to me a lot over the last 10 years. My whole night is shot because now my phone's going to ring. It's college roommates. It's my in-laws. It's my wife wanting to know what I did wrong. But, yeah, I grew up in North Carolina. I went to school at Tennessee and married a girl I met when she was singing at Dollywood. I mean, listen, I'm as Tennessee as you can be. So, yeah. But I'm so old. Boys, I remember when Georgia couldn't beat Tennessee. And now I'm so old that I can remember when Tennessee couldn't beat Georgia.
And I actually want to discuss with you just about the Tennessee trajectory specifically in this season, because there were a lot of discussions about their, winning streak and everything like that. How sold were you on the Volunteers even entering this Saturday?
Oh, I think it's all moving in the right direction, which is honestly all anyone in Knoxville can ask for. Because what I go back to, I said this to Fitz, this morning. What I go back to is this game 3 years ago, and it was the end of the Butch Jones era. I mean, technically it didn't end until the end of the year, but it ended that day. At the end of the first quarter, the fans were just leaving Neyland Stadium in droves. I left the press box to take a picture of it. I've never seen anything like that. I've been going there since I was a teenager. So to go from that, and honestly, in this game 2 years ago, and even a year ago, to go from that to this game, and as you say, listen, at the end it's depth. I mean, Georgia's so deep, and they kept Tennessee's defense on the field the entire second half. So the fact that Tennessee's even hanging in a tractor pull like that is a good sign if you're a Tennessee fan. I didn't think they're going to win the game, but to actually be in the conversation, and everything's building toward that Florida game at the end of the year anyway.
Well, so, McGee, let's stick there for a second. And it's funny, this morning we did talk about it, and let me tell you, my Twitter blew up with people informing me that I'm a Vols hater. Nice time to remind everybody, 20-plus years in Nashville. One of my closest friends has the checkerboard or had the checkerboard tattooed on him. Like, I got nothing but love for the Vols through and through. I want them to be great. I don't have a favorite football team. So let me ask you, as somebody
that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. As somebody that knows the program up and down like you do, where are they as a program? Like, when you start to think about it's just a beginning, but what's it going to take for Tennessee to become who Tennessee was?
Well, for me, I have my questions about the Jeremy Pruitt hire. I know Jeremy Pruitt knows football. I mean, just this past week, Cole Kublik, who knows way more about football than any of us. No offense. But he made the comment. Listen, he said that Jeremy Pruitt's one of the best football minds, X's and O's wise, in the country. And I agree with that. If you know Pruitt's story and you know who he learned the game from, Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban and his dad, down in Alabama. And so he knows football. What I worry about with first-time head coaches in a program like this is the CEO part of it. Because football is a tiny little slice of your daily pie chart. The rest of it is quarterback's pressed because his girlfriend dumped him. And so-and-so got arrested, this booster needs you to make an appearance at his wife's birthday party. I mean, these are the things that when you're a head coach at a Power 5 traditional power program, you have to deal with. And he's handling those things super well. I just watch it how he handles his press conferences versus when he looked like he was being, walked to the electric chair at his first SEC Media Days 3 years ago. So they're getting there. And Philip Fulmer, quite frankly, it's been a pleasant surprise. He stayed out of the way. That's not really his MO. And so he's letting Pruitt do his thing. And, yeah, I don't know if Jeremy Pruitt's the guy that can win a national championship as a coach, but he's laying the foundation. And that's something that they've just tried to do for more than 10 years in Knoxville and hadn't done it yet.
Yeah, and Brian McGee joining us here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. And as we kind of wrap up the Georgia-Tennessee game, 44-21, your final in favor of the Dogs. But to kind of
socially distance high five for you.
There it is. But as we continue on with Brian McGee, I do wonder, Ryan, if we may shift our focus to kind of Big 12 football and what we saw from Texas and Oklahoma today, which was quite the expose of offense. But have we sort of seen the end of the Big 12 and the conversation of the college football playoff because of Oklahoma now being 2-2, Texas 2-2? Like, are they essentially a wrap as a conference?
So what you're saying is that because per the rules of deduction, we know that Louisiana Lafayette is the best team in the Big 12. Are you saying that's
they
have
keep essentially
them
yes,
right.
They reign supreme. Yes.
No. But listen, Oklahoma has done this before. Oklahoma always loses one they shouldn't lose, or it feels like they always do, and they figure out a way to get there. If you're going to lose that game, lose it at the start of the season, even though it was technically in the middle of the season. We don't even know what week this is. It's week whatever. So, right, it's a week infinity sign. So, listen, I'm not ruling them out entirely, but it all rides on Oklahoma now, and the road for Oklahoma started today. If they're going to do it, it had to start today, and quite frankly, they need a little help. And listen, if the SEC – if they're all going to punch each other out in the ring like they did today, then, yeah, you get a little help. And we have no idea. Pac-12 just started practice. We have no idea what we're going to get out of those two conferences. So, yeah, the door's not closed. But yeah, I mean, listen, here we are looking at the mysteriously accurate Ouija board that is the FPI, and it says 2%. So that's all I know. It's a lot smarter than I am.
None of us have still figured out how the FBI is. All right, so if you were on the playoff committee, what's more likely this year? 2 teams from the SEC, including one with a loss, or a 2-loss champion Big 12 getting in?
Well, I mean, if Oklahoma gets on a roll and they start scoring 60 points a game, clearly they're not going to play defense. That's just not going to happen. And I expected there to be defensive issues just across the country because practice was so wacky, because of the COVID deal. But Oklahoma just can't tackle. They just can't. And so the eye test in the room with all those coaches in the room, that's going to come back to haunt them. So, yeah, I mean, look, I still think this is the year that an unexpected thing could happen. Because it's 2020, right? I mean, it's the girl flipping everybody off on Fox at the end of the game. That's just the way that sums up the entire year, right? And so I think we could see 2 SEC teams. We could see a gang of 5 team, finally crack the code for 1 year. This would be the perfect excuse to do it. So, yeah, I think there's still something wacky to come. And that's the least controversial thing I could possibly say as we sit here in 2020.
I respect the move of just kind of protecting every sort of avenue of potential criticism that you can. We try to do that here, too.
I want 4 teams from one conference.
Just anarchy is what Jason Fitz is rooting
for. The Sun Belt. It's clear. The Sun Belt's clearly the best conference in the country. listen, I'll write the bottom 10 for ESPN.com, and I'm telling you, this is not the year that we typically have. And so in the Sun Belt. And so, yeah, the Sun Belt's owned the Big 12 up to this point. So let them take their spot.
Sun Belt, Fun Belt, indeed. Ryan McGee, we appreciate you joining us here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. Y'all have a good one, all right?
Yo, see ya.
Appreciate you, McGee.
I think we've got a lot of heart. It's a room full of guys right now that are disappointed but eager to improve. We do have a lot of promise and potential for a football team, and I think we're going to continue to get some guys back. I think we're going to continue to improve throughout this year, and I still know there's a making of a good team in there, and our team believes that too. So we've just got to go put it on the field and do it consistently.
Okay, so the point of gridiron therapy is to get a little off our chest.
Yes.
I cannot say enough. I don't care about the outcome of today's game. I care about what we just heard from Oklahoma head coach Lincoln Riley. That's a small snippet of his interview today on game day. And Treavor, it made me so mad to hear this. Again, I don't have a favorite college football program. I don't have a least favorite. I root for great fan bases to have great football to watch because it fires everybody up. When I hear words like heart, promise, potential, those are what teams that suck say to each other. When you sit there and say, oh, but guys, we got heart, like that's something out of a bad Disney movie about football. That's not something that's acceptable from a program like Oklahoma. Heart is what losers cling to, all right? Not championship caliber teams. This absolutely is unacceptable to me. If I'm an Oklahoma fan, I don't want to hear about the making of a good team. I don't want to hear about promise. I don't want to hear about potential. I don't want to hear about heart. I want to hear about tackling, figuring out how to tackle. I want to hear about national championships because you're spending too much dang money as a program to rely on heart, promise, and potential for somebody in Lincoln Riley that's supposed to be the great coach wonderkin that can lead anybody to championships. Heart, promise, and potential suck.
Fitz, they won today.
I know. I did.
They won.
And I want them to go on a roll. Like, I want them to go on a roll because, my God, like, it's good. Like, ideally, a college football playoff that either has all, like, 4 teams from 4 conferences or all 4 teams from 1 conference. I don't care. I want to see great football. And, man, Spencer Rattler can be great. Oklahoma can be great, but not when you're talking about your heart and your potential.
Yeah, no, you got to make sure that you gas your team as much as you possibly can. Do not allow them to get complacent or just settled in the idea of they are okay where they are. You need to continue to push and expect greatness at all times. Jason
Harvard
Fitz,
had good heart.
Treavor Scales with you on the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. And look, I could go on my own gridiron therapy about Dan Mullen wanting to pack stadium down at the Swamp against LSU next week, but I'm going to reserve that one for another time. That's probably off camera that we'll discuss that one out. But for now, another event down in the state of Florida leads our primetime action tonight on ABC, 7:30 Eastern on ABC. Clemson taking on Miami. And let's get a little preview action going there.
Clemson, Miami, Death Valley. We get it on ABC.
Clemson's been the standard for the last several years.
Every week's big, but especially this week, we got a top 10 matchup. We're really excited for the challenge.
This is what we do.
We're hoping for a national championship spot. It's a big one.
We are about 10 minutes and change away from that primetime matchup in Death Valley. Clemson hosting Miami.
Don't forget, you can authenticate, hang out right here and watch all the football you want to watch. If you take the time in the ESPN app, authenticate, you can just hang out here and keep doing it.
Yes, we will be right here with you watching and appreciating every last bit of it. But somebody is already down there. That somebody is taking care of us as we take a look in at Manny Diaz and Dabo Swinney getting ready for this primetime matchup. Ed Reed alongside Manny Diaz. And I just want to say the salt and pepper, beard, and fro combo, undefeated.
I mean, look, that is just if I could do it, I would all day long.
No, he a G.
At all times. He looked over the camera, too, like I think he could hear us right
Well
there.
aware.
He looked over and he's like, you're looking at me. Hair look good.
And now I'm scared. So we should just probably listen to Allison Williams.
Hey there, Allison Allison Williams here in Death Valley. We are getting ready for a top 10 matchup between the Tigers and the Canes. It's dry right now, but that's not going to be the case throughout the game. A lot of rain expected. We'll see if that has an impact on the play on the field. I will tell you, Miami's offensive coordinator Rhett Lashley said the plan is to throw it if it's raining and to throw it if it's dry. They did do some wet ball drills this week, a big emphasis on ball security. But as Manny Diaz said, they're the Hurricanes. They're in the remnant of a hurricane, so it's their natural habitat. Dabo Swinney, he's not worried about the weather. Heck, he said everybody loves a good mutter now and then. We'll see in a little bit on ABC.
Allison Williams, thank you. And yeah, turnovers will be the point of contention for these two teams if Miami can get something going.
Well, and you just heard Allison Williams allude to the fact that part of Miami's game plan is going to be run it. Well, it has to be because you're not going to be able to pass it. You're not going to be able to run it on this defense. I mean, you start to look at Clemson defensively, and Brett Venables is somebody that we don't talk enough about, and we talk a lot about him. That says how good he is. I mean, the defensive coordinator for Clemson is great at finding what you're good at and simply taking it away. It's very simple. It sounds simple, and he makes it look easy. Clemson right now is giving up about 2.2 yards per rush. If Miami wants to win this game, they're going to have to run the ball. The problem is I want to be able to bench press 400 pounds too. Like, you can want it all day. Doesn't mean you can do it. And that's the mismatch problem here. I'll use a very NBA analogy, Trev. Like, there are times that it's not even about who the best team is. It's about the matchups and the isolated matchups, the way they work. I think more so than ever this year in college football, that's a truth. And this matchup just doesn't favor Miami to me.
You talk about just the idea of wanting to run the ball. And I think a lot of that also has to do with ball control, keeping it out of the hands of Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, because you know those explosive plays are coming the moment that they get their hands on the football. So, yes, Manny Diaz is going to have to do everything he possibly can in order to keep the ball in his hands. But you're going to have to find your own sort of big play offense as well. And that comes into question with the amount of pressure that Clemson's defense can get on De'Aaron King. And when they do, is he going to be able to maintain an amount of composure that is necessary in order to conduct that offense in an efficient manner?
You know, when you talk about big plays, I think one of the things we need to remember is so often big plays, especially in the passing game, come from a communication error. Clemson is so well coached. They don't make a lot of those mistakes. Now, I realize that everybody can at me right now about the national championship game, and they will. That's the way the world works. That's one bad game for Clemson. I'm not going to turn around and apply that moving forward to the program that we've seen. So I think realistically, again, it comes down to how well coached Clemson is. Now, let me ask you. You mentioned De'Aaron King, Trevor. And when I think about De'Aaron King and I think about the hype that he's gotten right now, I wonder if just coming in and playing lights out, if De'Aaron King can even keep the momentum he's gotten as a player, as a Heisman candidate, as sort of a national treasure at this point, even if Miami loses the game, just by coming in and balling out.
And I think it's important in how they lose, right? And I know that's a bit of a cop-out in a sense. But if it's close, you could see something to the effect of, and I want to be abundantly clear when I say this, I'm not comparing him to Lamar Jackson, but when we talk about the way in which you build a Heisman campaign, getting to key moments in a season, performing well on the largest of stages, and maintaining a level of momentum as far as production throughout the end of the season. Look, Louisville lost their last 3 games of the season, but Lamar Jackson still hoisted that Heisman Trophy because of the level of productivity that he maintained. And this is after they ran into Deshaun Watson and Clemson, who were the eventual national champions, and Lamar performed well. So as long as De'Aaron King kind of keeps his name in the spotlight in a positive way, performs well in these large stages, continues to produce some gaudy numbers, then there is a track for him to continue to be towards the top of the National Player of the Year conversation.
I will credit our wonderful stats and info group for this little nugget. But since 2015, Clemson has been AP number 1 for 19 weeks. In that span, 6-0 in ACC play when ranked number 1. So then they have a 24-game conference winning streak. That's the 3rd longest in ACC history. So all of those are nuggets. But the other side of it is that the program, Miami, has 9 career wins against AP number 1 teams, tied with Alabama for most in the modern era. So, you know, if we believe in any historical moments, maybe that's the thing you cling to. But I just think Clemson, let's make our picks, Trevor.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what order we want to go in here, but I'll say that I think Clemson's going to. Oh, Trevor.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I don't mind doing that at all because I think that we have been looking so much for there to be a second person to kind of close the gap in the ACC. Unfortunately, I just don't think that Miami is able to do so this evening. I have Clemson very comfortably, actually, because, again, in a weird season, despite the fact that Miami has performed well, you have to look at that competition, and you got to understand that it may not have been to the same level that Clemson has played.
Yeah, and to me, this is about two things. One, we're overestimating how good Miami is right now. Not to say that they haven't taken a leap forward. I do believe that they have, but they're not in the same realm as a top 5 team. Now, that's part one of it. Part two of it is Clemson is clearly, in my mind right now, the best team that we've seen and the best team that we will see until we get the chance to at least put eyes on Ohio State. So because Clemson is so great and because I think we're a little overhyped, I'm taking Clemson, and I'm taking Clemson big. Like, we don't mark our picks against the spread. If we did, I would take Clemson and I would take the points.
Yes,
that's right.
It's just they are overwhelming in so many different senses, and that is because of the level of recruiting that they've done for so long at this point.
We do like to throw the control room in. We got a lot of great people behind the scenes that work their tails off on this show, and while Treavor and I get the accolades or the hate from some people, either way, we love to bring the control room into it. So today, we're getting some picks from Control Room Kyle. We'll explain why throughout the course of the show, but Control Room Kyle has, and I'm getting into my ear, he says, because he's Kyle. That's why he's picking Clemson.
You know what? I get it.
And when you're Kyle, you do what you want to do.
You do what you want when you popping, and I respect the ever-loving mess out of that, Kyle. So we appreciate you. The College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G, running through your primetime matchups. We will have all of the updates from all of the things happening in Week 6 of college football. But for now, we can talk a little bit more football as far as what's going down right now. And where we headed? Do we have a final score of the Tennessee-Georgia game that we want to talk about, or do we want to talk about something else? We can talk about the Tennessee-Georgia game. I'm not going to be against it. Stetson Bennett got off to a bit of a rough start. Snap went over his head, and that was the first 7 points.
A bit of a rough start.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it because the man came back. He is now 236 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown.
Okay, let's just rewind to what I was hearing in the conference room, socially distanced, as we were watching football. And Stetson Bennett, who, by the way, just some of those, it looked like he was mailing in some of those throws.
The mailman mailing in. There it is.
The mailman did not have a particularly great delivery day. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I know what I said in the control room. I was trying to leave it behind us. That is the past. Also, this scorecard is the past too. We're moving on to Arkansas and Auburn.
All right, let's take a look at this one here. Arkansas taking on Auburn. Auburn started a little late because of a rain delay, as you can see. Under 5 to go in the first. Oh, that's what you call a block punt. The first block punt return for a touchdown against an FBS opponent for Auburn since 2017. Good stuff there. Under 10 minutes left in the half. Auburn up 10-0. Bo Nix runs to his right, takes it in for a 15-yard touchdown. Bonos, 17-0 at that point. Under 3 left in the half. Arkansas down 17-6. Felipe Franks hits Devion Warren for the 7-yard touchdown. Makes it 17-12. Beginning of the fourth, Auburn up 20-18. Bo Nix, look at that. Auburn goes up 27-18. Score at this point, we'll see where it is. Now 28-27.
Hey,
we will keep you updated as we get more information. I know. Arkansas is saying, hey, we are not going to roll over.
Texas Tech taking on Iowa State. Number 24 Cyclones lining up for the field goal, but oh my goodness. Connor Asali's kick gets blocked by the Red Raiders. Zach McPherson taking it back to the crib, and the Red Raiders go up 7-0 early. Next play, Brock Purdy finding Chase Allen. Iowa State goes up 14-7. Now under 6 minutes remaining in the half. Over the top goes Breece Hill. Cyclones with a 21-7 lead at the half, and then more offensive onslaught from them. 31-15, your final in favor of Iowa State. Brock Purdy's flexing on him a little bit on the back end.
Well, and rightfully so. And you can see the highlight right there. We've got Clemson. We're showing you a little bit of this. Don't forget, you can authenticate. You can watch the games coming up tonight in the app. And if you're just tuning into the College Football Show with Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz, one thing I do promise you is that we will keep you updated on every single score as it's happening from all the games that are going on right now. You should tune in with us every single week from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. We recap some of the big games and get you caught up for tonight's action. Again, you're looking at a live shot here, Miami, Clemson. It looks like we'll see where this one goes weather-wise, obviously. But this is going to be the game that everybody's got their eyes on tonight.
Ain't no question about it, man. We got 2 top top 8 teams, right, within the ACC going after it. Clemson, your 14-point favorites, but I do believe that it will be a lot more by the end of this bad boy. We'll see what Derek King can end up doing by the end of all of this.
You say top 8. Well, good sir, I'm not willing to presume top anything until I've had the chance, I don't know, to have a little bit of fun by ranking some things. I get to do that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff.
I'm not gonna lie. Every time I see that, I get just irrationally hyped. And you thought I was bad before. All right, they gave me a graphic. They give me this whole intro.
Yes.
I get to give my top, for anybody tuning in, never seen it before, top 5, right? I'd like to give you the top 4 playoff teams in my mind today, and then the first team out that we're trying to find a way to get in there. So, But this week, oh yeah, they're giving me technology. You ready for this? Now as I drag it, you're going to be able to, are you ready for this?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, so what we're going to do, I'll give you the top 5. Then you give me an emoji to react to it.
I like it.
All right, here we go. At the number 1 spot in all the land, it's the team that we're going to see later tonight. Not even close to me. It's Clemson, or we're seeing them now, I should say. So Clemson, here they're on the set. They're in number 1. You good with that? Okay,
yes,
this one was easy. Number 2, this is tougher because we haven't seen a single second of football from them. But I still believe in the talent of Ohio State. I believe in the best damn band in all the land. For that reason alone,
You dork, you had to get the band in there, didn't you?
I mean, the marching band doesn't get enough love. I'm just saying. Okay. Ever predictable for me. All right, number 3, and this is where it gets a little trickier. I'm going to go Alabama. Number 3. You give me that?
Yeah, I do. I like them a lot this season. They've been balling.
All right, number 4. And it's not just because I'm here with you or, I love and appreciate you and really, if I mention what a great friend you are, I have to do, it's going one step further with it. I'm taking them up there at number 4, Georgia.
If you were really my friend, you would have left him out of this because this only leads to abject disappointment for your boy.
Okay, that's fair. Well, you get to react in a second with an
emoji.
Okay,
go ahead. Yeah,
but now I got to give you the first team out, the number 5 team in all the land, and gave this a lot of thought, and I made a sweeping decision. It's the New York Football Jets.
We've gone off of the rails. I don't know who authorized that logo being even put in this.
It took a lot of people, a lot of work for me to make this lame-ass joke. But let me say it at least this way, Trev. Part of this is because, yes, the Jets are a dumpster fire and it's fun to make fun of. But more importantly, as we were watching games this afternoon, I kept looking around saying, who is the 5th best team in the country right now? I don't think North Carolina has looked great. I don't think in our limited time seeing Notre Dame, they've looked spectacular. I'm looking around saying, man, right now, if Penn State comes out and looks good at all, they could be number 5.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. I think that's an accurate assessment of the state of college football. And as we kind of work into our reaction, I'm going to do 2 things for you. 1, we'll put this sneaky little villain in there in the 5 slot because we have no idea what exactly is going to be the 5th team.
I didn't even know we had a sneaky villain.
This is what your boy is here for. Otherwise, I will give you a relative thumbs up. Let me get the sneaky guy back in there because I agree for the most part in all of your assessments. I cannot deny that Clemson is playing like the number 1 team in the nation. I can also not deny that Ohio State, given the performances that they put on last season, is firmly in that 2 slot based off of talent alone. I just get a little iffy having not seen a down played from them.
I appreciate that. It's cutting it off a little bit, but I appreciate this, Trevor. One thing I'll say, it breaks my heart that you clowned me and you didn't give me the poop emoji. This is why I can't have nice things.
I was saving the poop emoji for when you were particularly outrageous.
Well, as in every single Saturday.
Touche. Oh, Fitz.
Speaking of
Jesus. No. He had that in the holster this whole show. I know he did. That's the type of dude that Jason is. That's the whole show. He's just waiting on that moment to do it. Holy cow, best of the best. And look, because Jason decided to start us off on a poop note, let's get right into it. Army is our first entry for Holy Cow, and it's a defensive entry. Markel Broughton, diving interception against Citadel, lays all the way out. I'm not entirely sure who the Citadel quarterback was throwing to there. I think I was impressed on this, a couple different fronts for this, right? DBs making a diving catch because they are notorious for not having hands, right? Kudos for that. But also, your own offense don't even pass on you at practice, so I'm really surprised if you catch an interception, so that's an 83.
That's a fair point.
That's right. You never see passes.
He's like, wait, Paul. All right, that's fair. You know what? You talked me into that rating. Let's take a look here at a little bit of North Carolina fun. North Carolina, Daz Newsome catches a backward pass, takes it to the house, diving in the end zone for a 6-yard touchdown. Now, there was not a lot of defense in this game, and obviously this is all about the dive, right? Like, you look here and you're like, and flip-a-flop, and there we go. Little roll.
He ain't mean to do that.
I mean, it's a fair point. And it's going to bring me to my score because this year I am being notoriously difficult on everybody.
Brutal.
I'm giving him a 68.
Okay, all right. Well, now, while I said he ain't mean to do that, I feel like it's a little bit better than a 68.
No, like if you ever playing Madden and you press the dive button, but you realize then you have the quarterback and he dives like straight down to the ground. That's sort of what I feel like happened there. It was like a dive gone wrong on that.
It was a glitch, absolute glitch.
Says the guy that can't dive for a touchdown. Okay, go ahead.
Isaiah Spiller, Yakum, hold that against Florida. You talk about no defense being played. This is another one of them games. 41 to 38 over the Aggies. Stacey's mad. He's so mad we had this game.
I mean, he's just big truck driving right there.
Yeah, dog. And because it was poor tackling, I'd love to give this a little bit of a boost to the score. But again, like 83 feels right here. Great hard running. I'm cool with it. It was against the Florida Gators, so I'm also cool with it. 83.
You know what? You're a little tougher today.
I am.
I like this.
I'm trying to withhold because I'm typically a happy guy.
I feel like I've been Simon from American Idol all year so far. Now it's like it's rubbing off on you.
Is this? Yeah. Okay. I like that.
All right, let's get to some trickeration. NC State says, "You get a football, you get a football, you get a football, and we get a touchdown." God, I've wanted to do that the entire time. I love the trickery, though. This isn't just a flea flicker. It's not just a double pass. We've seen all of that boringness here. I'm going to give it, you get it, and then we're going to throw it. We started the whole show with this one because it was just that fancy. By the way, credit to Kerry Angeline for hauling in the 32-yard touchdown. I'm going to score this one a 74.
You were so excited.
I was. Yeah.
So how does that much excitement lead to a 74?
I mean, you watched it. Do you know what?
I appreciated it.
Okay. So
I'd have given that like a B- area. Somewhere in the 80. Like,
I mean, it was okay, but it was just like a flip and a flip and a flip and a throw and a touchdown.
No. You don't just get to say that was just a flip and flip and a. No. That's much harder than it looks.
Flippity, throw touchdown.
No. We're not about to just denigrate that touchdown to some random verbs.
Remember, he went to Harvard.
Terrible.
He uses denigrate. I went to Juilliard. I say flippity. Flippity. There we go.
There's a difference. Lord knows. NC State bringing us our next highlight as well. Woo! The big fella. Rumbling. So there's a couple things here that I'd like to address. One, the quarterback is wearing number 36. Two, the big defensive lineman is wearing 29. We are clearly witnessing just anarchy on the football. Nothing about this makes any type of sense.
He Frankensteined it. Like, he went straight up and knocked it down.
I'm assuming that, like, this started in a pump formation and my man's kind of went under center and kind of handled this, but because of just the pure anarchy of it all, 92, I'm all for it.
What's it take to get 100 out of you on a big man touchdown? Good Lord.
All right, look.
Fat guy rumbles with the ball and you give it
If he had a single digit, I would have given it 100.
Like, he did the volleyball thing, like knocked it down to himself and caught it.
Great.
And he's got better hands than you do. That's why he gave it a 90.
You a hater. I don't appreciate that at all.
Why don't you do another one?
Next play. BYU. I am not dealing with this. Got your mind. Zach Wilson to Neil Pau. Toe tap and grab in the back of the end zone. And look, dog. To go up like that, couple defenders all in your grill.
Do I get to?
Is that NFL good? Was that two down? I'm pretty sure that's 2 down.
That's Bing Crosby and Danny K.
Oh.
It's almost Christmas vacation time. I can't help it.
Fitz, nobody in the audience. Nobody knows who those people are. And I'm so upset that you brought that back for a second run. Like, that's not okay. I think purely based off the strength of the catch and also, like, just the NFL worthiness of the catch and actually qualifications within it, 90, A-.
I like that.
A-. A-, because, right, like real strong play.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That was great balance, and that was really well executed. I've got one that I think might get a higher score, though. You ready for this? Yeah.
You going above a 90.
I know. Well, look at this.
Tell.
Josh Thompson gets a piece of the ball, but Charleston Rambo, first of all, best last name ever. Yeah, look at this. He gets his hands under, like, it comes in, the ball's behind and the ball's tipped. He gets it up, and then he still catches it and rolls over and puts it in the basket And he says, yes, like a delicious bread, I want this.
The supreme pettiness of that Texas DB to come in there and just knock the ball loose.
Yeah, I think you should have done it. Look at that, 92.
Would you look at that?
90 stinking 2.
I'll be
telling you,
daggone.
when you're falling away and you got to get back there and you got to throw it up to yourself and you got to roll it in your stomach. I mean,
I never thought I'd see today that you actually appreciate athleticism, because all you do here is hate, and I'm so shocked that you decided to actually appreciate it one time.
well, you know what? It reminded me of myself when Reese's peanut butter cup's falling off the table behind you and you got to reach behind it and slap it up. Okay, we got one more here, and this is important. I mean, anytime you can see a quarterback with wheels, I want it. Sam Ehlinger, obviously we've talked a lot about the Red River Showdown. You like the way I did that? So I learned from you.
I do.
But look at this 25-yard touchdown in the second overtime. He scoots, scoot, and boogie gets him the touchdown. I'm giving this a high score, too, because anytime you got a quarterback getting out there rumbling, stumbling, and getting that boot, scoot, and boogie, I'm giving it a 90, Trevor. I'm giving
Really?
Yes. Look at the run. Look at the run.
We're not gonna talk about that receiver holding for him. Did we touch on that? 'Cause somebody was cheating. Somebody was cheating. So you have to address that.
Well, I mean, but it still takes great balance to get around the
he was cheating.
I mean, but then you get to the sideline and then you're like, no,
Nope.
I got the. I'm gonna do full matrix.
I'm not hating on Texas, but somebody was cheating on the field. You of all people would have deducted for that.
So, as a former running back, you've never maybe lost a little technique and then had to give a tug on the jersey to help your running back get around?
I have never been flagged for it.
And that, my friend, is the truest of all truths.
Bet in the game, baby.
All right, I'll take that all day long.
We got a little bonus of talking football, actually.
Ooh,
we're going to run this back. One more ranked team in action, number 15, BYU. Taking on University of Texas San Antonio. Pick things up early in the second quarter. Zach Wilson, we saw this earlier, to Neil Pa'au.
Easy for you to say.
You know what? I don't think it was that easy. I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. I'm not even gonna hold you. Like, that was very difficult. I got scared. I'm just saying, fast and confident.
He wasn't scared making that catch, though. I mean,
Cougars up 7-3.
Can I make another old tap dancing reference or no? No.
In a minute.
Okay.
In a minute, Fitz. We have a highlight to do.
My fault.
Zach Wilson finds Zachary Katoa this time. BYU up 14-3 with that. Under a minute left in the third. Wilson, this time. Oh, excuse me. That was Tyler Algier.
That's why they had to read these.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like, we all just kind of fell into those names. They kind of shocked me. I'm not even going to lie. But regardless, BYU wins 27-20 over University of Texas San Antonio. This is the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. It fits. The toe tapping reference that you wanted to make earlier, do you still care to do it?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, it was just another Danny Kaye reference. Oh, no? Toe tapping?
We don't want to do that. Like, that's just not okay.
All right,
it's not okay. I don't want you doing any more of that. But if we could kind of rewind this discussion a little bit, because I want to go back to this Big 12, specifically regarding Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and I guess we're including Texas in this, but I really want to strike down Oklahoma, if anything, because of their losses to this point.
Well, the biggest thing with the Big 12, and this is going to be the thing I feel like I have to say every single week, is that the playoff committee has been told a couple of things. And I've sat through that mock process down in Dallas. And one thing is that conference championships don't particularly matter. They give you a chance for a key win, but they don't give you some boost over everybody else. So knowing that, if you're the Big 12 and you're looking around and you're saying, man, right now, by the eye test, which is all the playoff committee is really going to have to go on, the eye test is going to show you that none of these teams can play defense, which is already sort of personifying a stereotype that exists around the Big
1,000%.
So now all of a sudden you're turning that into an even bigger truth. And through all of it, you're beating up on each other. And I can already hear the Big 12 fans saying, well, that's what the SEC is going to do. That's what the Big 10 is going to do. But the presumption walking in is that those teams, there were more good teams in those conferences. So I feel like what's happening is that even though the Big 12 is giving us actually, I think, particularly exciting, fun games to watch, they're taking themselves quickly out of any sort of chance at the playoff conversation, because the committee has already told you that they are fearless when it comes to putting two teams in from one conference. I can look right now and say that I feel like on a neutral field, field, on a neutral field, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, we beat any of the Big 12 teams. So that's 3 right there. And then we haven't even talked about Clemson that we already know's in. And then the Big Ten's going to get going. And the Big Ten has a lot of quality, but not just we're only talking about Ohio State, but Wisconsin's going to be good. Penn State's going to be good. So you can look around and, like, all kidding aside for the Big 12, they have played themselves, in my mind, straight out of any shot at the play.
It does appear so, and it's not because of their the losses in and of themselves. It's more so the quality of loss, right? Like we've seen the poor performances defensively from a lot of different teams and losing to teams out of the Sun Belt, right? Like that McGee mentioned earlier.
And even this morning on game day, I thought Pollock's head was going to explode when he was going back and giving defensive breakdowns of the miscommunications. And at one point he said, look, I teach my 12-year-old kids to do these things. And so you have to look at that, and I only make that point not because it's Pollock necessarily, but it's because it's a very good football mind. And that's what the committee is filled of, is people that know how to break down. They're not just talking heads. They're not just me, right? They're people that will actually come in and break down the film and say, hey, fundamentally, this is bad football. And if you're playing fundamentally bad football and you're losing, I don't see how the hell you get into the playoff conversation.
It's the ultimate subjective sort of discussion this season, but something that is objective, and that is from the Auburn game. They kicked a game-winning field goal. We'll take you out to their tilt against Arkansas. Waning moments in the fourth quarter. They were trailing by 1. Carlson, the kicker, comes through for War Eagle. They win 30-28. Auburn survives in the West. And I'll tell you, man, Sam Pittman in Arkansas, like, they're just here to cause a couple problems this season. And before you know it, they may be in the discussion for a little bit of a run over in the SEC West. But it is about kind of that program building. But Auburn's still trying to maintain some semblance of a voice on that region in a very tough conference.
Well, and that comes back to our conversation a little bit from last week on the West versus the East. And Auburn may not be as strong as some people hoped they would be early on, but Arkansas is better than I think a lot of teams expected them to be. So let's see where that builds for Arkansas. I don't think they're making any noise this year, obviously, other than playing great disruptor. But then we'll see what happens from there.
They are bound to screw up somebody's season. Speaking of screwing up, we have another segment to get to. Bruh, this is always just getting jokes off. Yes, because that's the only reaction that your boy has. Whenever some stuff like that pops up, just, bro, what we doing? What are we doing? First person I'm going to ask that is from Texas A&M. Bobby Brown, the third.
It's his prerogative. I had to get that in.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was good. Woo! I approve. That is not too dated of a reference. And my man celebrating the second. I'm all for celebrating, especially for the big fellas. Big dog, you got to be careful. He returned to play the game. I want to make sure everybody knows that. But big dog, Bobby Brown the third, rocking that number 5 as a big fella. That is quite possibly one of the more swaggerless moments in your career because you sat there and got yourself hurt, bro. Like, I mean, you can't do that. Be careful.
Also, like an aggressive butt slap from his own teammate on the pile. I'm just saying, can we, like, I know we're not analyzing that, but, you know.
You know what? I'm going to tell you, a lot of that stuff just kind of, it happens. I'm not one to comment either here or there when it comes to the celebration game and with regards to teammates.
When we have a good show afterwards?
No.
Okay.
Out of the question. Next one.
Throwing it out there. All
LSU, right. Kyle Brennan. And look, as you mentioned when you did the highlight, solid game on the day. Yeah. Miles Brennan here, finding his receiver in the end zone, but I want to draw y'all's attention to the ice in the veins celebration.
He's trying to say he's got ice in his veins. And
I think it's a little early.
Well, it's also just, it looks a little weird, you know. It's also a reminder that not everybody has the natural swagger that Joe Burrow had by last year. Like, we just need to remember that, like, I've had to accept this in my life, right? Like, there's certain guys that don't have swagger, whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
Miles Brennan might be
perfect.
He might be more on the swag list side right now. Just give him time.
No. I think that's totally fair. And
give him time.
And unfortunately, I'm not going to say that, like, this was what led to a loss by any stretch of the imagination, but you just got to be careful when you where you place that specific celebration, because when you throw the ice in the veins thing up, like, that's something where you know the game is locked up and there is nothing else that can be done for the other team to win that bad boy. So just be careful next time, Miles.
You never know, by the way, where you're going to get a disruption in a game, and that takes us to our next.
Oh.
Bruh, are you ready for this? Yeah.
Segue
Look at that segue. All right, look. I get it. Like, Moth's got needs too. Like, they got to find a place that's probably kind of warm on the lens, maybe, like a good place to hang out if you're a moth. But I don't know what to do there. Like, true story. Today, I'm driving into ESPN campus, and, like, you have to go through this little security area, and I roll my window down, and there was, like, a little stink bug, and the stink bug was on the window, like, in the windowsill area, but, like, I couldn't tell if the stink bug was in the car or out of the car, and I had this whole negotiation of how do I roll my window up? I don't know what to do. So I feel the cameraman here, like, you don't want to make the moth mad. What you going to do?
I was disgusted when I first saw this clip. I just found this to be particularly.
You hate moths?
I mean, bugs in general disgust me. I'm not fond of them. Do you have an affection?
No. I don't have an affection for bugs. Like, for me, as long as they don't jump. Like, I'm good with anything. Like, I can handle spiders. I can handle cockroaches. Like, all that stuff is fine.
Right.
But you give me a cricket, and I will have like a 10-minute standoff because I don't know where that thing is jumping.
10-minute standoff with a cricket. That's absurd.
Well, I mean,
also absurd.
The least surprising thing you've ever heard.
Hey, you know what? That's absolutely fair. And you know what? We are equal opportunity joke-telling operation here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. So not only is Dicker the kicker from Texas going to get roasted a little bit in this segment, but Oklahoma's kicker, Burkich, is also going to get a little bit of this work. Because both of these two, this is how our third overtime went. Just two missed kicks. That was it.
You never trust a college kicker. Like, this is a simple
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Yeah, well, you think kickers are bad? Let's flip to more special teams. I mean, anytime we can have a special teams field, we should do it. And let's go to UL Monroe here, as we've got a little bit of a punt issue coming up here. And this one, spectacular. Not only Daniel Sparks doesn't give up one, but 2 touchdowns on blocked punts in the end zone. Okay,
that first one, he dropped. Like, you're supposed to drop the ball in front of you as a punter, right? Like, that is a thing. But Mans forgot to, like, swing his leg and kick it when he dropped it.
Seems like that would be part of what you want to do. Like,
at least he kicked it this time.
You know, we always hear about how punters are good golfers. Like, at any point, did he just scream mulligan after this one? He's like, mulligan, breakfast ball. You try it again.
It's operation time. He's getting roasted. Special teams meeting on Sunday. I promise you that much.
We got this. This seems like a bad idea. This is BYU's mascot.
Oh, yeah. No, see, he's been off the chain for the past couple weeks because I saw him, the big inflatable.
Getting on the thing.
Dog, you know the big inflatable ball that, like, you can run inside of? He was rolling down one of those things off of the stands, too, and jumping off into the, onto the. How much free time do they have just to pull off these shenanigans?
COVID-19. I mean, he's got a lot of time. But most importantly, he wore a mask.
Yes.
Here we go. Texas A&M.
Oh, this one's yours. This one's
awful. This is because I was sitting in the conference room saying, dear God, really? Like, we're watching football together, and I think a lot of Texas A&M as a program. I think a lot of Coach Jimbo Fisher. But a Gatorade bath for beating a conference opponent when you make Jimbo money, like when you got Jimbo paychecks, you should be able to beat teams in your own conference. What, we get a Gatorade bath, a conference win for Texas A&M? That's not Vandy.
Counterpoint. They were number 4. Were the Gators when they beat them, right?
I mean, but it's not like you beat the number 4 team in the country and you're sitting here saying we're Louisiana Monroe.
Touche.
I mean, this isn't the Raging Cajuns pulling off an upset either.
I would like to get Mark Sanchez's thoughts on this. We welcome him into the College Football Show, presented by AT&T 5G. But before all of that, Mark, we heard from a birdie that you were doing deep sea lobster diving, and I would just like to know. Does somebody tell you, hey, Mark, you should really try this? Yes, just how did we get here?
I learned how to do this probably my 3rd year in the NFL. During the offseason, I went down to the Virgin Islands and in the Caribbean and learned how to do it free diving, so no tank. And it's a little different in California because the water's not as clear. You got to go at night. You can't use any tools to try. These are spiny lobsters, so they're not like the red lobster, Maine lobster with the pinchers.
Right.
But still, they have these 2 big spines on their forehead right when they're staring at you. And I guess the mic was open during our segment over there because this is like a really insider story.
No, we totally had a mole. Somebody gave us all this. We can't rat anybody out.
So lobster season in California opens in October. And it's like the first Saturday after the first Wednesday. It's a little weird out west, but that's just the way it is. And so we went the other night, caught a bunch of them, but none of them were big enough, so I had to throw them all back. But the one big one that I had, crawls back into his hole. You got to use a flashlight. It's pitch black in there, and you got to just focus on what you're trying to find, because if you look around, you start looking around and thinking about sharks or anything like that, you just kind of get off track and start freaking yourself out. At least I do.
Nope.
So this lobster goes right back in a hole and right out of the hole, and I'm looking at the lobster, and right behind it comes this big old eel. Dude, this thing was like slithering right by me, freaked me out underwater, and I'm holding my breath because we don't have tanks. We're just free diving. So underwater, I'm like, bah! And all my air's gone, and I'm like, oh, crap, and I got to go like 20 feet up to the surface. So it was a little freaky. I almost didn't make it back this week.
Incredible.
But yeah.
I don't know how we transitioned.
I don't either.
Hard turn. It was exceptional.
The only thing I have for that is bruh.
Bruh.
Appropriate. A professional.
Right. So LSU football. Is LSU football the lobster or Mark Sanchez in this analogy? I don't know. Like, how does LSU turn things around?
Man, it's got to start with those guys in the locker room owning it, right? Coach Orgeron can only do so much. Coach Pelini, he's got to figure something out on defense. And I know the offensive guys, from an offensive perspective, you put up that many points, you're kind of looking around like, bruh, what else do we need to do, right? Like, we're scoring enough for us to win. You're telling me we're going to put 41 on Missouri and we're going to be in a ball game at the end? But at the same time, that last fourth down play on the goal line, running sprint right option is what it was, where the inside slot guy makes a little move and just runs a quick little out and the quarterback rolls out. I'd like to see him do it with a little more creativity, just get a little motion, try and get a half-man advantage to give Miles Brennan a little better target. I mean, it just looked a little elementary for me for your game winner. Like, that's all you had. That really threw me.
I'd like to actually pivot a little bit to something that has to do with LSU in their first loss of the season when it came to Mississippi State. Now, they set records offensively in the SEC in week 1, throwing for 623 yards. Week 2, they go out and lay an egg in a loss. Which version of that Mississippi State Bulldogs team should we be more expecting to see going forward? Are we more expecting that air raid to take over the SEC, or is it going to be an adjustment period for Mike Leach?
I think there's a little bit of an adjustment that comes along with bringing a new system. But I think the beginning, that first game, was just a shock to everyone, how quickly they're going to run plays, how many crossing routes they have. They ran a lot of the same concept a lot, right? They ran the same plays over and over and over. They just ran them quickly, they ran them efficiently, and they caught LSU in man-to-man coverage. So all their pick routes and crossing routes look like home runs, but they're really just pitch and catch for the quarterback. Those are easy for KJ Costello. But listen, it's going to take a little time to get everything implemented the right way. And don't forget, this is a different schedule than a Pac-12 schedule. I mean, every week you're facing a real difficult opponent and teams that'll just beat you up physically. So if you're going to play, that style of offense, you got to be ready to take some punches too.
All right, so we've gotten fancy pants here. Now we can get live look-in. So we're going to take you live right now to Clemson-Miami. We're going to keep Mark with us for a second here. It's always fun to watch games with live look-in sort of capability when you've got a quarterback. I feel like I got two offensive players. Like, I got a former running back and I got a former quarterback next to me. So, Mark, let me ask you, when you look at Clemson, particularly this year, from a quarterback's mindset, what's the one thing that you look at Trevor Lawrence and say, man, he does this better than anybody realizes?
You know what? It's really completing balls early. He can throw the ball down the field really well. He's got great feet and pocket presence. But I'm just going to give you, you say 6, I'll say half a dozen. Here's what I want to see from Trevor this year. How about that? Let's go with, I want to see him face a team that makes him convert third downs consistently. A team that forces him into 10-plus play drives, because it never happens. And when it finally happened last year against LSU, they lost. Against Ohio State, they barely won. And you can make a case that Ohio State should have won that game with a couple of close calls. So I just want to see Trevor's development, because in reality, he's out at halftime or early in the third quarter. They're up 50-0. He's on the sidelines with his sandals eating peanuts every game because they blow everybody out. So I want to see what it's like for Trevor when they're down, when he's got to go win the game, because that's what scouts are looking for, and he's going to have to do that at the next level.
Mark Sanchez joining us here on the College Football Show, presented by AT&T 5G. Miami trailing Clemson down at Death Valley 7-0, about 8 minutes left in the first. And we saw in one of those clips there, Mark, D'Eriq King under some pressure. And he was able to kind of stand in the pocket, deliver a ball downfield, make sure that he was able to maintain a level of composure despite the pressure arriving right at his doorstep. And I want to know from you, what exactly goes into maintaining that composure, especially against a high-level opponent like Clemson?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing that they can do for D'Eriq King is, little plays like that. You want to get those easy completions and just stack those completions because you know at some point you're going to have to deliver a ball with a guy you're just staring down the barrel of a big hit coming right at your head. And you just know it's going to happen. But if you have those completions stacked up before that, you got a little confidence in your back pocket. And you're just going to stand there and deliver that ball. But for me personally, when I get into a game, I'd want to get one completion and I'd want to get knocked down. Now, listen, that's very different than getting your head taken off like Joe Burrow's done, like his rookie year now. I don't want those kind of hits, but just something where somebody kind of taps you from behind, you kind of roll over, you got to jump over somebody, kind of roll on the ground a little bit. That for me was like, all right, one completion, one knockdown. All right, I'm in the game. Let's roll. Let's go play. Let's go win.
I actually can totally empathize with the idea of just wanting to get that first hit out of the way. Just like anticipating that first hit is the biggest thing.
Oh, and then he just takes one. So
that's a larger one.
Give me.
That's not.
That's not what you're looking for.
So real quick here, Mark, when you're facing a defensive coordinator like Brent Venables that's so talented, what's the key for them, for Miami offensively, to stay on schedule?
Well, it's what they're not doing right now. It's stay out of 3rd and long. Don't let them get too exotic. You know, keep the pressure on them. You got to get into 2nd and short and open up your entire playbook and stay ahead of the chains. It's easier said than done, but the battle's really won on 1st down. If you can get more than 3 or 4 yards on 1st down, essentially you are rolling on offense, and it makes the rest of your playbook completely open. It makes your quarterback and coordinator, it just puts them at ease. All their stress is essentially relaxed because you can just play and open up that playbook. That's what you want to do.
Mark, you're the best. We'll let you get back to your actual job. Awesome for you to stop by.
We stole them for a little bit.
Yeah, we're just stealing people. That's what we do on this show. Mark, thanks for hanging out with us.
Appreciate it.
Best of luck. Stay safe when you're out there hanging out with lobsters. It still makes me nervous, all right? That's all we ask.
Terrifying. You just mentioned sharks casually.
Yeah, I mean,
Appreciate it.
That is fair. That's fair.
This is the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. Thank you so much for watching us here today, man. We got a final thought before we dip out?
Yeah. Authenticate, stay here, watch it. Watch us every single Saturday. We love hanging out. But this isn't the only college football show you can watch digitally. Countdown to Game Day starts in the mornings, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Then you get us from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. And then the late night wrap-up show, 11 p.m. Eastern.
That is with myself, Christine Williamson, and Gary Streisky. We have a good time there. We've had a good time here. We appreciate you joining us. We will talk to y'all next week. This has been the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. Bye.